Mic real quick. Okey. Alright, everyone, this is just gonna be for real this time, real quick. Been working on a video that's not. A couple weeks ago, I was working on it and I couldn't figure out like a really important part of it. But then I was messing around with something else today and I really liked what I got from it. So I thought I'd share it really quick. Basically, we're just using distance fields. I can't remember if I've done too much talk on it. You can look up other videos on what distance fields are. They're real powerful. Like with the font here, it's Text Mesh Pro. I think it's included with Unity now. They basically generate distance fields for a font that you input, and then you can do cool effects like glow and things like that. So that's what we're gonna do. I'm just showing some. It's similar to that old UI video where I just showed a bunch of little effects. This one's like that, but better. And then once I figure out some other stuff that I was talking about earlier, I think it'll be a very, very cool video. But this one I thought was really cool because, I mean, I do use a noise texture here, but a lot of the stuff is just generated through math. And I think that's really cool. So in the shader, the first thing we do, so what is a distance field? So we talk about that. Basically, let's do this. Presentation. Color equals 1 color. How dare you? So this is a distance field. Not very exciting. But it lets us use that gradient to do really cool effects if you're not familiar with it. I mentioned this before in that video about how, Kingdom Hearts. Honestly, this is why I'm doing the video, because I'm playing Kingdom Hearts 2. And just realizing all the different effects they use was probably through distance fields. If you see something that looks really high fidelity, especially in an old game, you see some of these visual effects in Kingdom Hearts that are just crazy high fidelity. They're probably using distance fields, and they're really cool. So we can use this data to generate some cool stuff. Basically, how we get this is we just do distance field. Of the UV. You can do it a different way, but basically I used, I passed this so that we have the UVs of this quad. And then we find the distance from the center, which is 0.5, 0.5. And so that's going to give us a distance like this. And then we also do, I guess I'll go to what we can actually do with that. So there's this other channel called Art of Code, I think is the name of it. He has some amazing videos, and he actually just did a video on SmoothStep. If you're not familiar with SmoothStep, it's real powerful way to, it's like the foundation of how we use distance fields. So let's go ahead and check this out real quick and get it popping. So to make things clear, go ahead. Sorry, my mouse is double clicking. We'll just for now. Well, I guess we should. So with a distance field, we can SmoothStep those values instead of drawing it like one-to-one. So what SmoothStep does is it basically, the function that if something is less than a value, it makes it 0. If it's greater than a value, it makes it 1. And if it's in between that, it does a smooth interpolation between the two. You could just do a lerp if you wanted to. But the SmoothStep looks nicer, and I think it uses some math that like works out really cool. That just ends up doing that. So the basic of that is this. We pump up the glow right there. what we're basically doing is we are taking that distance and making this radius value our top point, you know what I mean? Like in the SmoothStep. So if we go here, we have the radius, and forget this for now, ignore this. And SmoothSteps, like if we don't use that glow, it's SmoothSteps between radius and radius based on the distance d here. We'll actually do 1 minus here to do it that way. That'll give us this without the glow. But then during that SmoothStep part, so instead of radius to radius, we do radius to glow, and actually do a little bit of alert that I'll explain in a second here. Not just minus glow or plus glow. The basic of it is, as we glow like this, it will get a bit of an artifact there. I'm not sure what that's from. Go. That's still a little bit wrong. Sorry, this is a little workaround that's really dirty. Pretty good. So why this is cool is it isn't just for, and you've probably seen lots of videos like this. There's probably better ones, but I just wanted to share this shader and show a bunch of effects at once. And then we'll do a couple animations to show like how awesome it is. So again, we are not using any textures yet. We're just on a quad. Got to mention that. I have it at this cool angle to show, you know, you can do other stuff by messing with the angle. And like I mentioned, it has like infinite fidelity because we're using that math. You have to adjust the glow kind of make that look better. Sorry, my voice might give out a bit. Allergies have been bad. So, you know, without the glow, get this. With the glow, we actually can provide ourselves with some anti-aliasing. And that's where you get those like real crisp, nice looking effects, Kingdom Hearts and such. So then we kind of just do an inverse function. We multiply that by a similar one. SmoothStep here, and I'm just going to share this shader so you can just mess with it. Minus the width. So what that does is we have this width value along with the radius. Lets us go like this. You could program it differently where you would have width in the first one too. And so as you increase the width, it would actually expand outward from the top. But from a lot of the effects I like, I find this to be easier. And conversely, with the glow, I like my glow to sort of dig in. So it's going to go from here to here and here to here. So that's where that lerp is. Right here where it gets a little bit messy. And actually multiply it by 0.6 instead of 0.5, which would be halfway, which would be more accurate, but I thought it looked better with 0.6. And again, it's a magic number, so you could make that an actual value if you wanted. So as we add that glow, go up like that. So how I have it programmed is to go from a lot better. The intensity up too high. It's a scale between here and here. So you could do it where it's like a static value, so your glow would like sort of go past the distance, but you can get that same effect by then using the intensity. And I think this just makes more sense to me. Basically, if our width is 0, and then we crank it up all the way, or not width of 0, but tiny, then it's, you know, we have this glow from that very extents of the width and the radius graduating from 0 inward to the halfway point between those two to give us that glow. Right here, no graduation from here. And then if we crank it all up to 1, then it'll fade from here to the center. Or maybe I don't need to explain this much, but I think it's helpful. So from there, you can really just start going nuts. So you've probably seen effects before where, you know, we can go ahead and start animating, I think. distance Annie. So we can start recording here. So we'll do like the radius, start about right here. Well, here, and animate that. That's already pretty cool. But start going a little more nuts. Width a little bit. Now here, all the way. Probably, again, scene effects like that. Let's go. And, you know, we've done videos like this where we use a circular mesh. And so a lot of this stuff, you can do that. But I just find this cool because we're just using a quad. And so there's going to be a lot of overlap with some of those other videos, but this is like an alternate way to do it. And I think the more you learn about distance fields, the more you can really realize how like powerful they are. Go ahead and record our glow here. Do that here as well. Up. And if we want here, we'll edit all of them, please. Usually that adds, okay, that time it did. Pull that out. Or automatic curves are giving us a bounce there. Looks okay. A little bit better by way out. My values got out of range. There's some stutter there, but that's all right. Probably redo some of these when we do another one. So that's pretty cool, I think. But we can really go nuts. So the next thing we can do is also calculate the angle. Right here, we can calculate the distance. And then calculate the angle. So now we have this. It'd be easier if that's just fine. Hopefully that makes sense. Now from here, I want to show it the other way. Hoping to show both, and I guess I mean that does, but I'll get it one day. No. There. Now you can see the angle better. So basically it goes from here to here, and you could offset the angle if you needed to. Basically the code that I use, and if there's better code, let me know, is atan2. So we take the center.y minus position.y. It's a little bit different than, it is the UV, but in the shader, I pull that apart. I use the original UV to just give us that, you know, our fragment position, which is the position of the pixel. And then I split that so we can use the texture coordinates for the actual noise texture that we'll get to. And I think you could maybe set this up. This is just the example I found and it worked, so I used it. Center.y minus our fragment. And so we had that center set up already. And use atan2. I don't know what the calculation exactly is, but it gives us an angle from negative pi to positive pi. For some effects, we actually want that, like when we're using sine and stuff. But to correct that to 0, 1, you add pi and then divide by 2 pi. And so that's what's actually getting fed into here, 0 to 1. And that's for illustrative purposes and for other sorts of effects that we'll get to. So my first thing that I did that I thought was cool by having that, and this is actually the effect I was working on for my own game, is to then take a noise texture. So we have this right here. It could actually be a 1D texture if you wanted. I use a Worley noise. You can look those up online. They're really cool. They are actually distance fields that are generated in different ways. This one I picked here uses circles. You could just use like a, if you go in Photoshop and generate clouds, or render clouds, I guess it is, or just a straight up noise texture. It won't look quite as nice, but it'll look pretty good. But these Worley textures are real nice, so it just wouldn't hurt to just look that up. Or you can just make your own. Once we get to the actual effect, it'll make sense. This video is going to be a little bit. Oh, it was up. Whoa, I didn't even see it. Forgive. It's sick. Hey, thanks. First time able to make a stream. Oh my gosh, I never thought about using animation to change shader values. Yeah, check out all my other videos. That's like all I do. And in old Unity, you couldn't do it, and then you could, and then there was like a bunch of bugs, and so I think some people got away from it. Anyway, thanks for joining us. So, we're passing this simple texture here. Actually don't use these UV translations here, whatever they're called, because I got lazy. But basically, we're going to take that angle, like this, and we're going to get the data going left and right. For up and down, we're just going to grab the middle. And so we're going to go left to right on this texture like this as we go around. So that right here, we calculated this angle, get some new UVs. I multiply it by 5 and then add 5 to try and offset it. It didn't actually quite work because of the bug. I think you can just do angle. And then I have a noise scale thing, which will make sense in a sec instead of using those UV things that I mentioned. These here, I have a separate scale here that we'll get to. And so from there, we can do some cool stuff. So my first thought is to just turn this down to show the effects of it, is to do a cutoff. Already that's hype in my opinion. Give you some really cool stuff. And this is not anti-aliased yet, but even just like this, that's pretty sick. We'll go ahead and some anti-aliasing here. We call it a glow, but it's more of a SmoothStep anti-aliasing. You do that and it becomes much more smooth. Then we have that noise scale. You can kind of turn that down. You get thicker shapes, but thicker spaces, or you can crank it up. Down. So another thing we can do, and it's just like our gradient map, but we're doing it based on sort of this distance calculation. It's not like the directs. I mean, it is still a distance field, I guess. So, please. This is so buggy. I love you, Unity, but it's kind of buggy. Still says gray. It's like, pick a color, and I'm trying, dog. Seriously. Oh, Lord. This is driving me crazy. Okay, did it stop finally? Oh my gosh, that was crazy. Still doing it, dudes. I have to restart Unity. Are you seeing this? Okay, there we go. Let's pick a new one. I might need to restart Unity. I don't know if this is a bug with like OBS. Color picker stuff is like crazy. Oh yeah, it's bugging out real bad. I'll go ahead and restart Unity. That's a little bit weird. Sorry about that. How's it going? It could be a combination of my mouse and like OBS, and that was obnoxious. Boop. Do this instead of doing the color picker just in case. Colors going here. And crank up the intensity and really make this shine. Up the glow like that. You can see we're getting some really cool effects, especially if we mess with our intensity. And the noise cutoff, things like that. And that's really cool because it sort of automatically blends, just like our other shader blends down into that. That going. So this is like the actual effect I wanted to do in my game. I'll actually start. Oops. Radius, noise cutoff. Again, some of these go below 0 to compensate for how the glow calculates, because the glow is kind of like subtractive, so it kind of gets like underneath some of your thresholds. So that's why we have some like, right. That really quick. Yeah, so low color is based on angle. Low color is based on the glow, I guess you could say. So if we turn the glow off, we only have this. It looks yellow because we have the intensity up really high. One, it's going to be a 1-to-1, and it's pre-multiplied blending, so we can make this opaque if we wanted. This color here, the angle color, is based on the angle. If we go like that, I wanted to wait and show that, but since you're asking, that interpolates between those two based on the angle. Bit of a bug there because it looks like it's the alpha's getting messed up there, so I'll have to correct that because these are all 0 alpha. They should all, whatever the alpha is between those two. Anyway, that, and then the low color is based on the glow, and so that kind of fades into that. We hit the glow here, and as we do these noise cutoffs, we'll also colors pump up the glow a little bit more on those. So how the noise cutoff works is it looks at that this noise texture, and just like we have our distance d, which is just based on the center, and we have our angle, which is based on like that, you know, the radius that we did. We kind of sneak that noise, those noise values in there too, and then we do some other stuff too if you're looking at the code right now. But basically, we actually do it. So this noise cutoff, we have the noise equal to a smooth step with the noise cutoff, and I just use that same glow value. You could do the same one if you wanted. But basically, we have this cutoff that will sort of add distance. So that's kind of what it's simulating. So you can kind of think as this, an example, I have this friend, Thu on Twitter. He's been playing Kingdom Hearts 2, and he's the one that got me to play it. And he's a big VFX guy too. You could follow him at Amazing Thu on Twitter. He's real smart with this stuff. He gave me an example that it's like distance fields are kind of like height maps. That's a good way to think about it. And so instead of just thinking about like, or you can think of it like topography, and so you're kind of pulling that stuff away. We're doing it differently, but just as a visual help. The things that are up high, the white stuff, like this is actually distance field up here too, this texture, the Worley one. Um, and so with this noise, the cutoff, we're actually like pushing those values down, and then we're just sort of interpreting them differently, and we're doing our own stuff with it. But what's really cool is animating that. Go ahead. Forward. And because of the nature of how that width calculates, we kind of get a nice motion by just animating the width, particular effect. Hold it for a few more. Radius. Or the width just a little. Increase that glow. Here we will start that cutoff. A little bit of cracks going in there. Right here we'll animate it all out. Now, not a very good motion. Better. See how that's pretty sweet. Soften that a bit. Ugh, my curves, why does that look so bad? That's a really shitty motion. You'll have to forgive me. Trying to get through this video quick. That's a little bit better. Those looking lousy. Pump that up right away for better. Better. It doesn't have the right kind of pop, but that's a little bit better. Still not quite right. Hopefully you can see how that is cool. We could pump up the scale too. Oh, I did not want to animate that. Give us more lines like that. width to look better. There we go. Not get a good width there. It was like not letting me. Looks a little bit better. So what looks really nice is when you have your width really thin like that, but you have your width like that, your noise scale. Ooh, please stop. What are you doing to me? So we go from sort of these longer lines, like because you could start here too. But the concept behind this effect was to have the basically this noise cutoff only happen like at the very end there. It's kind of like the particles are kind of like splitting apart. So they're kind of long here, but as your width gets really thin, the nature of the particles is that they're kind of fat now. If I turn the glow down, you can see they went from long particles to like fat particles. Does that make sense? They're wide here and they're long here, and that is just a nice way to get good motion. Sort of a conceptual thing to think about. Oh, whoa, Rosy Breath of the Wild, like the bomb effects. Yeah, probably do something similar. They might use spheres, but yeah, it's that kind of stuff. So, with that same data, that sort of radial data, I won't get into all the stuff you could do because it's starting to get a little nuts. I actually am been working on this all day and I didn't realize it. But we can then use those sort of displacement concepts. So if we check this out here, I use the noise data. So that's giving us those little bumps. And also add a sine wave. And so that gives us sort of that regular shape. So you could use your own noise. You could use a sine wave on top of a sine wave to create, this zigzag that happens at a different rate. That's all stuff you can sort of look up online, the effects of. And then this starts to look really good if we crank up the noise scale. You start to get a look like that. And go ahead and do that noise cutoff. So now we get some really cool shapes that I'll just like animate real nicely. It feels like cheating sometimes. And then I have this little sort of thing. It's called width from noise. It sort of scales it similarly, but it changes the width instead of doing a full displacement. See there. So I think that's pretty awesome. You probably wouldn't. What I have set up, you can't really do some good animations with it. But this is how you get like lightning effects and things like that. So you could have, a basic shape. You could have a distance field or generate a distance field from an arbitrary shape, and then have these like zigzags and have lightning run along things. That's what I want to get into. It's that video I wanted to make a couple weeks ago, and I could not get certain aspects of it to work. But once I get it going, it's gonna be a real good video. It was mainly for UI stuff. If you have like a health bar here and you want like lightning, but you need it to be going a direction that's like along it, you know what I mean? Or like fire, like flames like coming inside of it. So if I get that working, then we'll have a video about it. So the last thing, the more more of a UI type thing, just like we can have this width work like a cutoff, we can have that angle work as a cutoff. And so I have this angle start here, which is like a little bit of a correction based on the glow. And like I mentioned, the glow is kind of subtractive or destructive, so it's kind of like miss out on it. Or you have to have a correction. But basically, that's it. You just do that. Along with this, you can kind of combine distance fields. Something you can figure out in your own time, or maybe in another video I'll do it. So it's like we have this, and then we can have another one going out like this. And just this one cutoff would control it. But here, just a ring effect by itself is pretty cool. Again, it looks dope by having it in 3D. Looks a lot nicer. And then we can, you know, get fancy with it like this. And it looks nice, kind of stand. Ooh, yeah, that's really rainbowy. Yeah, and then that glow sort of works a similar way. Anti-aliasing, I call it glow, but it's kind of an anti-aliasing. Also have a color in the middle. It doesn't look too hot. Kind of hard to see it. But again, we can use the angle here. We can also use the distance. We have this center color here. And again, it's hard to see because I have all these colors on here. We can have this green like in the middle. And as you're animating, that can make it look, please don't bug out on me again. It's gonna, god damn it. Dang it, shoot, forgive my language, I'm sorry. I'm not to swear anymore. I'm so bugged out. Sorry. As we sort of animate these effects, we can see that glow sort of take effect. This center color, rather. We crank up the glow, actually, with like this. Whoops. Density. Just animate this one value with glow. Really nice. Probably not quite seeing it yet. That center color can really give you some nice effects as it animates. You can see here we have this like red in the middle too, and that looks sick. And that red kind of goes away as we animate it out. Have the noise cut off and things like that. Glow to make it look nicer. You can see the softness of the glow as well kind of turns these from square to like soft rounded particles as well, and that's just another nice quality of it. You can do things like this and see how you get all sorts of shapes. It's kind of like the power of distance fields. I've been thinking about, this is unrelated to the video, but always wondered how they generated like mini maps, again, like playing Kingdom Hearts 2, you know, for like, you've seen it in tons of games, but like Kingdom Hearts 2 or like PS2, Star Ocean, Final Fantasy X. You know, assume they use some sort of collision data, but now I think you could use like a distance field. So you would grab all the colliders in a scene, calculate the distance from them all, and that would give you like a map like this, like a topology map, and then you would use, you know, something like this, the SmoothStep. Say these are all like the colliders right here. You can give yourself, you know, something that's more anti-alias and it looks really nice. So yeah, that's just a guess. And anyway, if anyone knows, let me know. So yeah, I'll provide this shader just to mess with. It isn't necessarily that practical a shader by itself. It just is showing you some examples of how to use distance fields. We could actually generate our own noise here instead of using this noise texture. And it's really cool that this is all just done with math. So anyway, thanks for watching. It's a quick video. I felt bad that I hadn't done a video in a while. I've been working hard on my game. So yeah, check me out on Twitter at Culture Attack. If you have questions, you can also go to patreon.com/Culture Attack if you want to support me that way. Videos are also on YouTube. I think it's Kicks42. It's an old fighting game name, so I don't know. But they'll be available there, and you can find the link by basically searching any of those terms I just mentioned. But thank y'all for joining me. Sport's been great lately. It's really helping during quarantine time because I do not have a job. Patreon money is very, very appreciated. But yeah, love y'all very much. Take care.